The investigation and my feelings about it. I am in awe of the women that have worked in this organization over the past 20 years. I'm inspired by the victims who have had the courage to come forward, tell their stories to ensure an accurate investigation. My heart goes out to those victims that were affected, and how difficult that situation was for them, and will probably continue to be. And I'm amazed at the transformation on the business side in the last 6.5 months since it came on board. With respect to the penalty, I've been working with the Commissioner's Office for 13 years as president of the Coaches Association. What I can tell you is a lot of thought goes into that, and so I respect Adam Silver's decision, and I'll leave it at that. What
Questions?
next?
When you say you're amazed by the transformation, would you describe what it is that you're amazed by?
It's just a completely different vibe over there. Things have changed so much. The mood, the atmosphere, the environment, the optics, and the people, and that's it's just been it's been a great thing to see.
Dirk, you guys picked up DeAndre during the offseason. What is it that you can bring to your team that you didn't have last season?
I can't be more excited about a player that's come on board in a long time. He is a guy that brings experience. He brings amazing athletic ability. He's had an amazing summer of work on his body. He's really committed to diet and some other things, and he's trimmed down. He's just in great condition, and I believe he's going to be an important leader on our team. When you have a resilient organization that's an adaptive organization, you can never close the door on things. The thing 3 years ago was disappointing, but I always believed that there was a chance DeAndre would end up with us, and when this thing circled back around, he contacted me and said, "Hey, Coach, I just want to make sure that you and Mark, are okay with it." I said, "Hey," I've been waiting for this phone call for 3 years. Are you kidding me? And so we're thrilled to have him here. Our guys love him, and he's going to be a big asset for us.
You went to visit him in LA in July. What was that visit like, and what did you guys do like?
It was great. I wanted to officially welcome him. We didn't have a press conference or anything like that. There were things going on. He had family things going on. I wanted to spend time. I wanted to listen to him. I wanted to talk basketball with him. I wanted to get with him on his shooting and free throw shooting to organize a new plan for that. He took to it right away and has done extremely well with it. And so, he's improved his free throw shooting almost every year, and I expect that trend to continue. He's a positive guy with a great vibe, and we haven't had a guy quite like this since Tyson Chandler was here and in his prime. So we're thrilled that he's here.
Rick, what do you anticipate Dirk's role will be in terms of whether he starts or comes off the bench?
Well, he will likely come off the bench. He and I have talked about it. He's actually been talking about it for some time, and this will be extremely challenging for him. At this age, and at this point in time, coming off this more recent surgery, and I believe it was March, right? Yeah, and he's doing well with his rehab and recovery. But he will likely be limited somewhat in training camp. And the hope is that things will continue to trend the right direction with his rehab and recovery, and that he can play in China. I don't know that he'll play in the first game against the Beijing Ducks, but he might.
When you say it'll be challenging, obviously you're talking about.
He's 40 years old,
Right.
and I mean, and look, he's for 20 years he's been a starter. So, we're going to have to really work on the best way to get him prepared to go in the game. If this is going to be the way that we go, and so there'll be constant dialogue. We're going to be have a lot of communication about it. His teammates will obviously be a big part of it. Since the championship year, I sat with him and talked to him at that time about a scenario where he played. It was 6 on, 3 off, 6 on, 3 off, 6 on, and those were his 36-minute days, and it was great because he'd get a run with the starters, with J. Kidd and Tyson and those guys. He'd come out a little early, and even if he had it going, he committed to this, and that had allowed him to get back in there with the second group, and so it was a real matchup problem for opponents. But having that first run with the adrenaline going and all that sets you up for that middle run, and so now there's you just don't know exactly when that first substitution is going to be. So, hey, there are going to be built-in challenges with that, and we'll work through it.
And as far as this being the best fit for the team, is that simply a matter of DeAndre's your starting center and kind of the combination that Dirk works with the second unit, or what's the thought process?
It's pretty obvious at this point, and Dirk knows this, and we've talked about it. We have to move the franchise forward the right way, and Dennis and Matthews and Harrison and Luka and DeAndre right now look to me like the best team to start games. I mean, we need Wes out there to guard the best wing player or the best perimeter player. We need DeAndre in there, to be our center. And I think the other pieces fall into place. I mean, Harrison's, he's been our best player the last 2 years, and we're going to rely on him more. Luka's going to be a guy that's going to help our team. Even though he's 19, he has great experience, and he's shown that he's a guy that's going to be a chemistry giver to our team. And I expect Dennis to really elevate his game coming off a great summer and all the experience that he got last year.
Coach, the guard play in the West is, we all know how great it is. Kind of talk about how important that Luka and Jalen and JJ and DSJR kind of gel and mesh together and get that learning curve up pretty quick.
Well, it's a murderer's row of great players in the West, and you look in the East, it's no picnic either. And so, I love our roster particularly from the standpoint of we have great playmaking depth. We got Dennis. Brunson is a guy that's ready to play. I mean, when Brunson and Doncic, you got two champions. I mean, these guys are proven champions in high-level leagues outside the NBA, and that's a great thing. Having Devin Harris back, I mean, he's been playing so well for us for the last several years. Some people forget that he used to be a starting point guard and an all-star in this league. And Barea had a brilliant year last year. So we've got some tools that we really like. We've got guys that are high-level players that have a lot of experience, have a lot of know-how, and I think they've shown a great spirit to help younger guys as well.
How do you want to expand DeAndre Jordan's offensive game outside of just simply free throw shooting?
He needs to become more of a lane threat to catch the ball and attack the rim when people switch. We're entering a realm now where, over 50% of the teams this year will be switch teams. And when small guys switch on DeAndre Jordan on rolls, we're gonna have to engage him, throw it up, and he's gonna have to attack. And I always believe that, from a free throw shooting percentage, the more you get to the line, the better you're gonna shoot it. And so this summer we talked a lot about routine and process, and really committing to process as the priority, and the results will take care of themselves.
With all your years in pro basketball, Rick, can you remember a conference being as stacked as the West appears to be right now?
Well, the East used to be that way. In the mid to late 90s, it was the opposite. I remember, when Bird went to Indiana as the head coach and I was one of his assistants, we analyzed how we were going to win 50 games that year with a veteran team that a lot of people thought had run out of gas. And one of the top things on the list was we had to dominate the West. It just wasn't very good at that time. And so, people keep waiting for the shift to go back the other way. It just doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. But hey, the other part of it is that being in the West is, if you like challenges, this is the place to be. And our team will get better competing against better teams. And what that means in terms of record, I don't exactly know. But for the future of this group, down the road, it's important and it's going to help.
On draft night, you said Luka's position would be on the floor, in essence. How much, given how the flow offense is structured, can he slide into any of the 2 or 3 positions, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, and really, I've watched closely as he and Dennis have played together. Luka really has a lot of point guard characteristics as a player. And they've demonstrated the ability that if one guy gets the rebound, the other guy takes off. And the ball's getting thrown ahead. And, hey, if Doncic gets the ball and throws it ahead to Dennis Smith and it's a one-on-one situation, up the floor, we like that. Our best situation on offense this year is going to be a lot of guys that can make plays. But Dennis and Luka will be our 2 primary playmakers off the dribble, I would believe. But the ability to drive the ball from the wings is such an important part of the game now. And Harrison's worked on it. Wes has worked on it. These guys shoot the 3 well. People are going to come out on them, and we're going to be driving them. And then, and from there, I believe good things will happen. In terms of positions, we talked a lot toward the end of the year that, Barnes needed to move back to the 3. So if you look at it that way, Doncic is going to be the 4-man.
You like to talk about yesterday being light years ago in the NBA. 3 years ago, when all this went down with DeAndre, how long was it before light years kicked in for you on that? Was it pretty much right away?
Yeah. Look, this is a dynamic business. Things happen. Things become very personal. That was a crazy situation. And I'm sure DeAndre will be very forthright talking to you guys about it. But Doc Rivers and I have been friends for many years. It didn't change our relationship. We're the NBA is a family, and did it raise the level of competitiveness the first year or 2? Yeah, sure. But we had fun with that, and as a credit to Mark and everybody in this organization, we never closed the door that this could one day happen.
Rick, fans and the media, should we think at all that maybe this is probably going to be Dirk's last year? Maybe with preparations.
I think you probably should. It's possible. Well, look, he's never gonna say that this is it. He's always gonna leave it open. He don't want a farewell tour. I don't blame him. Those are for some guys and other guys not. He's a lot like Tim Duncan, and you talk about 2 great warriors whose level of, just how distinguished they were as competitors and men, was only exceeded by their humility, and how they just kind of, their view of things. And, when Tim decided to stop, it was an announcement in late July or something like that, So I certainly hope this isn't Dirk's last year. I mean, hell, I've been here. The only reason I've been here for 11 years now is because he's here. Why would I want him to be here for another 11? But look, I know that question was coming, but we don't know. We don't know. I mean, this is one of the most amazing athletes in sports history. I wouldn't put it in indelible ink that this is it. I just don't think you can do that with a guy like him. I would never bet against him.
How do you think Luka can complement and enhance Dennis's game?
Well, as I mentioned, I just think if one guy zigs, the other guy's got to zag. We were a team last year that dribbled too much. We took the third most shots off the dribble, and we had the worst percentage shooting shots off the dribble. So we've talked about some really important changes that need to happen. Luka certainly helps that because he's a guy that can play with or without the ball, and so we're going to enter a new sort of paradigm with our team on this, and I think it's going to enable everyone to play better. But it's going to be work. It's going to be something that's not super easy, but this is how we're going to do business.
How does spin into the equation, and what type of summer did he have?
He had a great summer. He's healthy. After that episode last year with a kind of an unusual knee situation. He worked so hard last year on strength and all that kind of stuff. And, once you have a situation like that, the maintenance is ongoing. It just never stops. And so he does the work all the time. He's one of our best perimeter defenders. I expect Dorian and Wes and Barnes to be our three best perimeter defenders this year. I told Harrison, and I told the team this morning in our team meeting that, he and Wes got to be our best two-way players. For us to have the kind of year where we can do better than people think we're going to do, and he can do it. And Dodo is going to be, an important guy. He obviously isn't projected as a starter at this time, but he started a lot of games here in 2 years. But worked a lot on his shooting, fits well with the second unit, and has some very unique skills. And he's another really high-level perimeter defender we can throw at some of the great wing players in the Western Conference.
Did you see some improvement in his outside shooting?
Yeah, he's worked a great deal on it, and now that we can get him back into a flow in games I just think it's a natural progression that he's going to shoot it better and better.
Dirk has talked about how 20 years ago it was a challenge for him to adjust to coming across from Europe. How does it seem to you Luka has made that transition?
Well, I believe he will make it well. You're talking about a kid that's been playing for Real Madrid since he's 13. I mean, he's been playing professional basketball for 6 years. He's done a lot of traveling. He knows 4 or 5 languages fluently. So I believe that coming to the States will be a pretty seamless thing. He's going to have support here. Mom, I think, is going to be here and stuff. So, and we'll have a lot of team support for him as well. His teammates have really taken to him. I mean, he's a very likable guy and a guy that our guys like playing with.
Coach, switching over to the defensive side, is it safe to say with Jordan here that going back to the Tyson days where he was able to eliminate mistakes of people getting by the guards, that you feel fairly comfortable and confident that he will be able to elevate the defensive side to that level that we once seen with the Tyson days?
Well, Tyson's a great shot blocker. DeAndre can block shots, but you don't pick up a DeAndre Jordan just to give guys an excuse to get blown by. You know, I mean, that's not how we're doing business either. And you know, one of the other realities that we have is that, you know, we're going to be doing a fair amount of switching as well. And DeAndre's going to have to sit down and guard smaller guys from time to time. And this is part of the adaptive nature of our game. And teams and players that adapt are going to have success and are going to get better. And teams and players that don't adapt, you know, are going to become extinct. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. And so, you know, where DeAndre can really help us, he's a great rebounder. You know, he's been 1 or 2 in rebounding for the last several years. His scoring gradually has come up. I do think he is a guy that can erase mistakes when there are drives. But just because we have DeAndre doesn't mean, you know, we're not going to be really concentrating on perimeter defense. And it's harder than ever because guys now are not only shooting threes, they're shooting 3-4 feet behind the three-point line because people are doing a better job of covering the line. And when you come that far out, you know, it's very difficult to keep people in front.
Yeah, Coach, and I'm a big opponent of the days when you played back in the 80s, and obviously how the rules have changed with the hand checking and the non-existing of the hand checking. Do you feel that will pose?
How old are you, by the way? I got a feeling that
I'm 47.
47?
Yeah, hey. You and Bird and McHale and all those guys, I was a Pistons fan, but that's neither here nor there. But do you think that is something that could help facilitate the switching that you said and working on it and becoming more efficient at it?
Well, switching is a reality in our game. We've studied it a lot, and you know, it's something that slows teams down if you can do it effectively. Now, you know, the challenges are obvious. Communication becomes a challenge. If you point switch and just point instead of coming together and really talking and having contact, you can have some really embarrassing screw-ups, and guys can be standing there wide open, and then the two guys are looking at each other and going, "Who's got my man?" You know, that kind of stuff. And you know, that's the stuff that's difficult. But if you have a team with guys that are like sizes and strong enough and stuff like that that can switch, you can slow down offenses. You know, you can make it tough. And you know, one of the things in the NBA right now that everybody's studying is how to beat switching, how to exploit switching. Switching, you know, on a certain level is similar to zone defense. And so, you know, going forward, I mean, the stuff you're talking about in the old days where you used to be able to grab a guy's hip and just kind of hold on to him, you know, that's the only reason I survived for a few years. And so, this is part of, you know, again, the adaptive nature of the game, the evolution of how the game is being played. You know, I mean, the crisis in the '90s was scoring, and then people figured out that, you know, the way to make the floor bigger is shoot more threes, you know, and really stretch it out. And it's become an amazingly dynamic game, and the ratings don't lie. I mean, we've got the most popular game in the world.
Coach, you've been around Luka when he's.
Dirk Harper the best at doing that, hand checking, that kind of thing.
Yeah, he was one of the best.
Coach, what's your?
Hey, listen, him and Mo Cheeks, I mean, you know, to get the ball, you know, halfway up the court, you know, I was playing some point guard back in the day. I had a zigzag like this. I was going like 3 lengths of the court to get it over half court against those guys. I'm sorry?
What's your expectation for the team this year?
Mine
Yes.
is that we're going to be better. And that's it. I'm not going to throw any numbers out there. I'm not going to do anything stupid like that. When I went to Detroit in 2001, I got asked that question. Someone asked, "Hey, you think you can be it was a 32-win team. You guys think there's any way you can be 500?" And I said, "Why would you want to throw out 41 as a number that you're striving for? I mean, you never know, you could set the bar low. And so that year we won 50 games. And so our commitment, our number one commitment as a team is going to be to the defensive end. Our second big commitment is going to be to less dribbling, more passing, and learning, and really learning how to play with each other out on the floor. And from there, we'll have the ability to improve.
What
Coach,
approach
have
have
you
you
been
seen
around
from Dennis this year compared to last year as a rookie?
What's that?
What approach have you seen from Dennis so far entering year 2 compared to as a rookie?
He's in, I mean, if you look at him now as compared to a year ago, his level of strength and conditioning is so much greater. I would be hard pressed to give you kind of like a percent. You know, he's 2 or 3 or 4 times in better physical condition. I mean, he's really busted his ass. And in the pickup games that I've watched over the last 2 weeks, you know, he is putting speed and energy in the game, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. And in the open floor, I've never seen anybody faster. And his job is going to be to keep that speed in the game and always be a threat to score at the rim or drive and get his teammates shots and then re-space and be ready to do it again.
Coach, have you been around Luka when he's busted out one of his other 5 or 6 languages other than English, and how nervous does that make you?
Well, I never heard the term busted out. Talking about multiple languages, but we've got a couple guys. Measury, you know, he speaks 5 or 6 languages as well. And more than anything else, it speaks to, you know, kind of a cosmopolitan level of intellect that he has, and from being around so many parts of the world. He speaks Slovenian, Croatian, Serbian's a little different than Croatian, obviously English and Spanish, and I think that's 5. There may be parts of other languages that he knows, but we've all been impressed, you know, with him just as a person. Not a lot of talking, you know, good worker, guy that guys like to play with, and you know, he's a bit of a mystery man because he didn't play in the summer league, and really no one's seen any kind of public footage of him playing since, you know, the European Championships, you know, back in June. So everybody's anxious to see him, and I understand that. But I'm certain that you're going to like the way he plays.
Last one.
Coach, you mentioned the support system Luka has. How beneficial do you think it is for him to have a guy like Dirk to learn or play under and learn from?
Yeah, no question. And the fact that they're both Europeans. We were at the Mavs golf event last night. Luka and Brunson were up there with myself and Followill. And Followill asked that question, and Luka answered it by saying, "Well, Dirk is the greatest European player of all time." And you know, what better example could you possibly have to learn from? So we're excited. Thanks for being here. Cheers.